Hi there, it's Evelyn from Magellan College Counseling, and I'm here with another one of our counselors so you can get a feel for his personality and get to know him a little bit before you decide to work with him. This is Caleb Fitzpatrick. Hi, Caleb.
Hello.
So, Caleb's been with Magellan for a while now, and we decided to update his video and talk a little bit about some of the students he's worked with and some of the kinds of students he likes to work with. And hopefully, that'll give you a better feel for what it's like to work with him. Because we all do the same thing, right? We're going to help you build your college list, we're going to help you walk through the college admission process. But, Caleb, give us a little feel for the kind of students that you work really well with.
I kind of like the kids that are a little quirky, a little off they're not necessarily focused on like just the UCs or the Cal States if they're in California, but they're willing to kind of look at the smaller liberal arts colleges. Um, you know, an artsy kid, just someone that has shown some interest through their high school career and is not just a one-dimensional, like just an athlete or just a violinist or whatever the case may be. But
Yep, yep.
I find that I kind of can go deeper with those kids. I guess just the more kind of intellectual, sort of well-read, kind of quirky, smart
Perfect.
kids. Yeah.
Perfect. And you mentioned athletes, so you obviously have a lot of deep experience with athletics. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my own son, I helped him. He got recruited to play Division III baseball. So I went through that process with him, and I love sports and stuff. So I kind of gravitate towards the athlete as well. And I've taken certification courses and kind of paid attention to what's happening in the NC2A world. So I do like to work with athletes, and I kind of know the steps to help them. With the recruitment process and reaching out to coaches, and
Yep.
so for the kids that are serious and do want to play at the next level in college, I can definitely be of help there as far as helping them with that process.
And
um,
specifically, you've worked with, just off the top of my head, I know you've worked with swimmers, soccer players, runners, rowers,
yeah, that's in
probably
baseball. Yeah,
baseball,
that's
obviously.
yeah.
Yep. Okay, so
But yeah,
pretty,
I got two runners recruited to D1 to UMass Amherst. um
oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yep.
Yeah. And then a lot of kids, they think they want to play in college. And then
Yeah.
when that process kind of begins and they realize how much time and effort and they kind of decide in the process, I'm just going to go to college, and the athlete piece kind of falls away, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if they're definitely exploring it, then, I'm a good person to kind of help with that.
Sometimes I tell our athletes their lists might sort of be bifurcated, right? Like there might be this would be the list of colleges where I play my sport, and this would be the list of colleges where I'm going to college.
Yeah, and hopefully what I try to do is find those, that intersect. So a
Yeah.
school where, if they reach out to the coach and the coach shows interest, but it also has their program,
Yep.
it's a fit socially, emotionally, academically. You don't just want to go to a school just for the sport, and
Right.
something happens to get hurt or whatever, or you don't make the
Coach
team, whatever
leaves.
happens, then you're stuck at the school that you don't necessarily really like. So
Yeah.
that's really important, is to really be holistic about it and make sure it's a good fit all
Yep.
around and not just for the sport.
Yep.
Because a lot of kids, they go to a school just for a sport, are miserable and end up transferring or just
Right.
dropping out or whatever. So we want to
Right.
make sure that doesn't happen.
Even if it's sometimes I feel like people, not everyone, not just athletes, but people say like I want to go to the best school I can get into. And they're really thinking about, name, ranking, reputation, and they're thinking less about fit until they start to work with a counselor. So talk to us a little bit about your process. Like how do you help students see their fit at a
Yeah, and
college?
that's kind of a big part of my job, our job at Magellan, I think, is to help the kid who's the client and the family like realize that it's not just the Michigans or the UCLA's or the NYU's or whatever, but it's the college that might be the best fit for that kid. And it could be Cal State Northridge. It could be some little podunk school in the middle of Ohio that you've never heard of. Like, you just don't
Right.
really know until you start exploring. So I really try to kind of get deep, in our initial meetings and with our brainstorming for essays and stuff, is like kind of get a feel for what this kid is looking for. And we have some, activities and stuff that we do to what they're looking for in terms of social life and
Yep.
the kind of environment. Do they want rural? Do they want urban? Do they want a big school? Do they want a small school? You know, um,
Yeah.
what do they want to study and all that, and kind of drill down into that, and then that kind of helps us build this list, and it might show the families and the kid, like, get them interested in schools that they would have
They
never
hadn't heard
never
of.
considered.
Right.
um,
And one of the things that I think helps all of us do our job, and you've done this a lot, is visit colleges. Like you're out there a lot. So you a minute ago you said, some podunk school, but like you visited a whole bunch of schools that not a lot of people have heard of, but fallen in love with them.
yeah, I've been lucky to, kind of go through the, like, Ohio, for example, has so many small, great little schools,
Yep.
anywhere from Ohio Wesleyan to Ohio University to,
Yep.
I'm forgetting.
Miami of Ohio. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
there's
Ohio
so
State,
many,
but Oberlin,
and kids,
Kenyon,
especially Southern
Pace.
California, people might not necessarily consider
Yes.
those. I
Yes.
did a lot of trips to the East Coast, especially when my son was getting recruited and we were looking at schools for him. So I kind of feel like I know, um, the kind of smaller liberal arts schools,
Yeah.
Midwest to Northeast,
Yep. Yep.
that, a lot of California folks might not necessarily be familiar with. Not that we're
Yep.
just working with California families, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I
I feel
remember
like that's my kind of area of
your niche. Yeah.
expertise, but it's
Yeah.
always growing and changing.
I remember when I think you were traveling with your son and you visited a college in Pennsylvania called Susquehanna, which is not,
Yes.
a popular school. And I remember you sending us pictures and going, "Oh my God, I love this place."
And they give so much money. I mean,
Right.
they'll give you like 50K a year, and that's the thing. A lot of families think that they can't afford. But
Right.
if you look at these smaller schools, that, it could be cheaper than going to a UC or a Cal State, for
Absolutely.
example, because they want you,
And they're
and they have great, teachers,
merit-based aid. Yeah.
professors, opportunities, resources. Yeah, you're in a little podunk Pennsylvania town, but you're
Yeah.
having a great college experience. You just got to kind of be open to those and visiting
Yep.
the schools as part of the process, either after you've been accepted or while,
Yeah.
in your junior, fall of senior year, is really important, just to get a feel for the different kind of schools that are out there.
Yeah. And like you said, those schools are often very generous with their merit-based aid. And, so many of our clients say, well, I'm not going to qualify for financial aid, but they could be considered for merit-based aid.
Yeah, even if your kid is, like, obviously if they're high threes, low 4 point
Yeah.
GPAs are going to get them. But even, like, I've had kids with 3.0s, 3.2s get,
Yep.
20, 25 grand. It totally
Yep.
depends on the school and the financial situation and the class that's coming in. There's just so many factors. But unless you are actually looking and applying to those schools, you don't
Yep.
really know. So
Yep. And so the last question I'll ask you is, this actually ties very closely in with your background before you started as a college counselor, which is in the financial advising space. So that you definitely draw on that in the work that you're doing with your clients.
yes, yeah, I did work in banking, overseas. So yeah, I kind of have a little bit of financial background, so I can kind of, no, by no means am I an expert, and it can get very complicated in the college
Yeah,
space.
sure.
I wouldn't advise anybody, but can definitely at least help you kind of know where to look, or recommend people to talk to, or
Uh,
whatever.
well, and just also just know how not to spend $99,000 a year.
Exactly, like, you don't have to. And also, just don't look at the, it's like when you buy a car, you're not going to pay MSRP,
Yeah,
so the tuition might be, say, 95,000, but in
yeah.
actuality, it could be closer to, say 50 by the time you
50,
get
yeah,
aid and work experience or whatever, whatever the family's going to qualify for. So yeah,
yeah,
definitely don't focus on the advertised tuition when you're looking at college websites or whatever, because
yeah.
it can be very different from family to family.
Yep. Just one more question, as again, as people are watching this video and thinking, do I want to work with Caleb? Talk to us a little bit about how you, if you're the lead counselor, how are you collaborating with the rest of the team? How is the rest of the team helping your students?
So that's one great advantage of Magellan, because there's, 20 plus of us, and we all have a wealth of experience, some going back decades. So what I try and do is, like, I'll build a list based on what I know, and then I might reach out and say, oh, I've got this kid, and this is his GPA, and he wants to study this, and he's kind of focused on, let's say, Pacific Northwest, and I've got these schools. Anyone have any other, ideas or schools off the top of your head that I could consider?
Yep.
So that's one way to do it, because we all have kind of different areas that and states that we know better than others.
Right.
the other way is, when we're working on the first kind of rough drafts of essays, is we'll get fresh set of you spend so much time with a kid and you look at it so many times and it can kind of become stale. So I might say, hey, get Evelyn or one of our other counselors to have a look at it and get other feedback. So
Yep.
you're not just working with me, you have the whole kind of team helping you. So
Yep. Yep. Fabulous. Fabulous. All right. I think we gave him a good feel for what you do and how you do it and who you're good working with. So thank you for chatting with me today.
thank you for watching. Look forward to helping your son or daughter get into college.